Welcome back, everyone, to the BGF podcast. This is episode number 9, and today we got one crazy episode for you guys. I'm Gianluca alongside of
Brandon,
and we're going to go over the running backs heading into the 2023-24 season, ranking them top 20. We decided to stick with that. 32 was a bit hectic. We didn't like the bottom end, and we didn't know if we wanted to do 2 running backs per team once. So we just stuck to top 20, and yeah, hope you guys enjoy, and let's get right into it.
yeah, because once you get into the 20 to 30 range, you're starting to debate between Antonio Gibson and David Montgomery, and it's like, what's the point here?
Who do you put?
Yeah, so now we'll get it started here. At number 1, I think, well, I don't know if we're going to have the same guy. It's still, who knows. At number 1, I got Christian McCaffrey. You see him here behind us.
The king.
I don't know if I'm being biased here, but anyway, who do you got?
I also got McCaffrey, and I mean, okay, if we're talking strictly rushing, maybe not, but if we're talking about the position of running back, he's the only player who can potentially hit 1,000 yards, both receiving and rushing. I mean, no other running back has that potential, and yeah, McCaffrey's just a beast. He's very explosive, very agile. He reads the field very good, gets into positions where the quarterback can make a play, and I love McCaffrey.
Yeah, I agree with basically what you're saying. He's one of the only running backs in the league that could really challenge for 1,000 on the ground and 1,000 through the air. He's basically like the most dynamic and versatile running back in the league, and I'd say he's a generational running back because there's no one else in the league that can do what he can do. And to me, he's the best running back in.
What about your boy Bijan? You think he's gonna replicate CMC?
You know, by next year, a year or two, I wouldn't be surprised if Bijan's at the top of this list.
High expectations. You heard it here first. Bijan top of the list in 3 years. Let's see.
But if you're drafted, McCaffrey was drafted what, 8th overall, 7th overall.
Yeah, I think.
And Bijan was drafted 7th, 8th overall, so why not?
Hey man, who knows? Maybe it's history in the making.
Now at number 2, I got Nick Chubb from the Cleveland Browns, one of the most consistent running backs from the last five years. He's one of the best yards after carry running backs. He has 5.2 yards a carry for his career, which is truly elite. And in his 17 games this year, he played every game. He had 25 rushing yards on 302 carries. He's one of the most physically gifted backs in the NFL. And he's really good at making defenders miss. So yeah, to me, he's number 2.
I have to agree with you. I have Nick Chubb here at number 2. He's just Mr. Consistent. Doesn't really miss many games. He's had 8 touchdowns every single season of his career. And yeah, just a big yards after contact guy, hitting 1,000 yards after contact this season, forcing 83 missed tackles. Those are elite numbers. We're not going to see that too often. Maybe we saw with Derrick Henry 2-3 years ago. But either way, Nick Chubb going into this season, I have him as the second best back in the league.
Yeah, because also he's had to share the carries with Kareem Hunt in his career. So to see the numbers that he puts up with having to share it with Kareem Hunt, now that he's going to be alone in that backfield, I expect him to actually be able to smash these numbers, to be honest, which is scary to see what kind of numbers he can put.
No, that's it. Already this season we saw a huge uptake in yards just because they weren't rotating as much as Kareem Hunt, but still, I can't wait to see Nick Chubb next year.
The only issue is that they might be like a more pass-heavy team now that for how much they paid Watson, they're going to want to throw the ball a lot more.
Or make him run.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, so at number 3, anyway, before I say my number 3, our list is looking pretty consensus so far. I thought we would have.
I think we're gonna have a consensus top 4 or 5.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, for me at number 3, I got Derrick Henry. I feel like he should be higher, but I'm kind of scared on when he's gonna decline. But I didn't really want to take that into consideration. Anyway, he's been the most dominant running back the last 5 to 10 years, most probably, and he's one of the only running backs in the league that can really take over a game and puts fear into opposing defenders. He's consistently getting 20 plus yards a carry, 20 plus touches a game, and yeah, he's a workhorse.
Yeah, no, and obviously he missed 2 games this season, but what did that do? He still ended up with 1538 on the ground, 13 touchdowns. Those are elite numbers. Like, no other running back has the amount of volume that he has and turns it into what he does. Huge guy after contact, can make defenders miss, no problem. He also has some sneakily fast. And yeah, Derrick Henry at 3. But I do agree with Brandon. I didn't put him higher just because his age. He's getting up there in age for a running back. But I still think Derrick Henry was one of the in my opinion, all-time great running backs that I've ever seen play football, and I love the guy. I still have him at number 3 for his elite production on the ground.
And he's also one of the only players in the 2000 rushing yard club.
That's true.
Yeah, you'd expect him to be in the Hall of Fame, most probably. Out of
He
these
deserves
running
one.
backs, out of the top 3, you think all 3 of them are going to be in the Hall of Fame? Or
If we're talking about running backs, I definitely see Derrick Henry getting in there. Potentially Nick Chubb, depending on what he does.
I don't know if they're gonna really they're gonna underrate him because he hasn't won. He doesn't have much playoff success.
But that's the same thing for McCaffrey. He doesn't have crazy rushing numbers, but he has the receiving numbers. Just he's never won. I think if one and two, either McCaffrey or Chubb wins, then yes, I can see them going into the Hall of Fame. Whereas Derrick Henry, I think he's pretty safe without winning. I think he's still in. Either way, I mean, what he's done is just crazy. Mm-hmm. And, we should see. It's going to be interesting.
Mm-hmm. Who do you got at number 4?
Number 4, I think we're pretty consensus here. I got Josh Jacobs.
Yep, me too. This is
pretty consensus list.
No
but
debate.
I mean, look, I think it should change after this. But anyways, Josh Jacobs, best running back last year, 1,653 yards, 12 rushing touchdowns, averaging 4.9 yards per carry. That's elite. He's averaging higher than 3 yards after contact, which is also elite. Huge playmaker, has that burst, has the versatility you want in a running back and make defenders miss. And maybe Josh Jacobs is a potential late bloomer as a running back. We don't see that too often. Usually they hit the gates running hard, but Josh Jacobs last 2 years has been very consistent. He's been good. This last season he dominated. We'll see what he can do into the next year. That's why I have him at number 4. I don't think he's higher than the 2 I have ranked ahead of him just because he hasn't been as consistent as the other 2. But if he continues to do what he did last year, definitely see him jumping into the top 3.
Yeah, there's definitely an argument you can make that he was the best running back in the league last year. He put up 2,053 all-purpose yards, which is very impressive. And yeah, I think the Raiders probably weren't expecting this big of a jump. They didn't even take his 50-year option last year.
I don't think he's under contract.
Yeah, no, they tagged him this year. So it gives a new dimension to that offense, and we'll see if he can recreate it this year. I'd expect him to. And like we did a fantasy episode last time, I'll be taking Josh Jacobs. I think he'll be able to recreate it, and good for him.
Yeah, good on Josh Jacobs. Honestly, a huge season, and I hope he can keep it up.
Mm-hmm. Who you got at 5?
At 5, I got my boy,
Jonathan
Taylor.
I also do. So this is top 5. We got the exact same top 5 here.
I mean, here's my thing with JT. He had his worst season of his career last season, but it was only his 3rd season. He's coming off an injury, which is scary, but however, when he did play, he still averaged 4.5 yards per carry. That's huge. He also has averaged throughout his entire career above 3 yards after contact, which is also very, very elite. I can see Jonathan Taylor continue to be a focal point in this offense. I don't see the Colts moving to a pass-heavy offense anytime soon, especially with not really having a starting quarterback. And I think JT's going to just continue to get the work and dominate this season. And once again, I wouldn't be surprised if he jumps into the top 3 by next year, because he definitely has that upside. He has that burst. He has that versatility that you want in a running back. And I love JT.
Yeah, for me, he's in the top 5 of what he's done in the past. I could see a bit of regression again next year, because you could have made an argument that last year he could have been number 1 on this list, definitely with the year he had. He had 1,800 yards last year. He is a great pure rusher, obviously. And hopefully he can bounce back. But like I said in that debate TikTok we had last time, I don't know. With Richardson, I think he won't get as many carries as he has in the past. And I'm not too sure on him. He might be dropping next year.
No, for sure. And who do you have at number 6?
I got Saquon Barkley.
Yes, we're different.
Finally, we got something different. Saquon Barkley is one of the best running back prospects in the history of the NFL. A running back going at 2, we haven't really seen that. Has there been another? Is he the highest?
I think he's the highest drafted running back ever.
Which is crazy, to be honest. And yeah, he's explosive. Just for some reason, I felt like he had a better season than he actually did last year. Like I was looking at his numbers, 1,300 yards on the ground and only 300 through the air. He's always been like a very good pass catching running back, but last year you'd expect in an offense with Richie James as the leading target, you'd expect Saquon Barkley to do much more in the passing game, which it's unfortunate he wasn't able to do. I think now that he's 26, maybe there's regression coming, but it was nice to see that he was back to the old Saquon Barkley after a disappointing 2021.
The Saquon that we know and love.
Yeah. So we'll see what he does next year. But for me right now, he's at 6. Could have him at 5, 6, 7. I think these guys are pretty interchangeable after the top 4.
Yeah, number 6, I might have a shocker here. I have Tony Pollard.
Damn, that's high.
I know, but here's my thing. He never really had a full season as a workhorse running back, which is cool, but I love his upside. Last season, still posted 1,007 yards with 9 touchdowns as the number 2 first half of the season, but I believe he changed that into the 1 second half. Either way, over the past 2 seasons, he's averaged 5.3 yards per carry. That's elite. He's also gotten 3.7 yards after contact, which is also elite. So he makes defenders miss. He takes them to the first down no matter what. Huge potential to dominate this next season. You know the Dallas Cowboys like to run the ball. They've done it with Zeke in the past. They used both Zeke and Pollard last season. I can't wait to see this guy as a number 1 year round. I think he can absolutely dominate the league, and I'm excited for Pollard.
I also like Pollard. I have him a bit lower just because we haven't seen him in his own backfield yet. I just want to see when he's the guy that everyone's keying in on how he'll perform. So yeah, for me now, we're moving on to number 7. I got Dalvin Cook. This is a player now that a lot of disrespect's being put on his name. I think he's becoming very underappreciated and underrated.
Mm-hmm.
People, because of the contract, they have a hard time separating the contract situation on why he got cut and how good he is as an actual player. So, in the last, like I said, with most of these guys, in the last 5-10 years, Dalvin Cook has been one of the best running backs in the league. Last 4 years, he's had over...
consistent.
Exactly. He's had over 1,000 yards. And in a supposed down year, in the league's 4th pass-heavy offense in the Vikings, he was still able to put up 1,173 rushing yards and 295 receiving yards. He's, like I said, one of the most underappreciated players in the NFL. And hopefully whichever team he signs for, he makes the right decision, or he can still get a workhorse type of role and gets the carries that he could show how good he still is.
The thing with Dalvin Cook, which I love, is he's very patient. He's not rushing into anything, which I think is the absolute right move. Yeah. Take your time. Maybe a big team someone who's a number 1 goes down in preseason. I hope that doesn't happen, or training camp, whatever it may be, and he swoops in and takes the helm for the year. I mean, that's what I think he's trying to do right now. He was big rumored with Miami, but I don't think Miami's willing to offer him the contract he wants. So I mean, look, man, just be patient. He's absolutely dominant when he does play. I love the guy. I wish nothing but the best for him. And yeah, I'm excited to see what he does next year.
But he's not your number 7, though.
But he is not my number 7, unfortunately. I took the factor that he's not in a team pretty big, and I lowered him because of that. But I do see him being at 7. If he was on my list on the team right now, I might have him at 6 if I'm being honest.
Yeah, because how did you make your list? Are you more looking into next year or what they've done? It's a mix of.
It's a mix of both, but I'm also taking into account projections. Yeah, and I have Tony Pollard at 6, which is pretty high for what he's done. But I do like his yards per carry, his yards after contact, and all that stuff. So, I mean, yeah. Anyways, at number 7, I got one of your boys, Saquon Barkley. Finished the season with 1,312 yards, 10 touchdowns, 4.4 yards per carry. That's a little low for Saquon, but I mean, he did come off 2 serious injuries, and this was his first full season healthy, which was great. Good to see. I want to see him continue to dominate. He has arguably the biggest potential in that running back room. One of the most talented individuals on the field. He can absolutely change a game in the blink of an eye, and yeah, I'm excited to see what he does next year. He's on a contract year. They've tagged him, so.
There's been rumors that he might sit out the whole year. I don't know.
I don't think he should. If I was Saquon's agent, I'd probably take the deal and just, ball out this year. And if they don't sign you next year, fine, you sit. But prove that you're able to stay healthy. You know what I mean? Because it's his first full season of being healthy since his rookie year.
And plus, I think $10 million. I know it's on the tag, whatever. $10 million. I don't know what type of contract he'd be able to get off the Giants anyway. I don't think they're going to be willing to really pay. He is a big part of their offense too, so it's kind of a guy they can't lose. I don't know. We'll see what happens with that situation anyway. For me at number 8, this is controversial because it's Bijan Robinson. I don't know. I wanted to put him a bit higher, a bit lower. It was kind of hard. So this is obviously all projection with Bijan. I got him at 8. Like I've said numerous times, he's the best prospect since Saquon Barkley. And I believe that with his pass-catching upside and rushing upside, he could be a guy like McCaffrey, one of the only guys that can challenge for 1,000 through the air and 1,000 on the ground. By next year, I wouldn't be surprised if he is in the top 5 or maybe even challenging McCaffrey. He's elusive, and his ability to make defenders miss is really game-changing. So we'll see by next year. I think Bijan at 8 is quite conservative, or maybe not. I don't know. Let's see. What do you think?
We'll see. I mean, look, I think Bijan at 8 is pretty high considering we haven't seen the guy, but I do understand, like, if you're taking the projections into account, I do see why you have him ranked so high. I do agree he has very big upside in both receiving and rushing. I'm excited to see what he does. Hope they utilize him properly and actually give him the time of day.
Because if he's the best running back in the league next year, I wouldn't even be surprised. So
you heard it here first.
So I think at 8, I'm being pretty conservative.
At number 8, I got an interesting pick here. I got Austin Eckler, just for the one reason, his receiving yards. I did not know he did this good last season. He had 915 on the ground with 13 touchdowns. That's elite touchdown-wise. But he had 722 receiving yards. Here's the thing with Eckler. He's still on the Chargers. He didn't get traded. He's not going anywhere. He will continue to be a focal point in that offense. No matter what happens to that team, Austin Eckler is always there. He's one of the healthier players on that offense. And Justin Herbert loves him. He loves throwing to him. He loves giving him the ball. And I think Austin Eckler will continue to be a great running back going into next season.
Yeah, see, I have Eckler, pretty low. But I think I might actually up his. I didn't know his numbers were that good. 915 rushing and 700 in the air. Damn.
Yeah, I know. I was shocked when I was reading these stats last year. I didn't think he did that good for real. With 13 rushing touchdowns, that's also elite.
Yeah, because didn't he have I think he had 20 the year before as well.
Yeah, so something like that.
He's been very good for the Chargers. And also, like you said, with him being healthy, you can't really rely on guys like Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. So he's always been a good option for Justin Herbert. Now at number 9, I got the guy you had at 6, Tony Pollard. I think the last couple of years he's really been held back being behind Zeke. Now that Zeke's gone, he'll be able to really showcase his abilities. He was able to finally get over 1,000 yards last year, and that's being held back by not having like the full backfield to himself.
Never had a full year.
So I think next year will really be his coming out party and could be the big breakout running back of the year. And what would be your projection for him? I think 1,300 yards is pretty.
I think 1,300 yards is pretty reasonable. He can definitely hit that, but I wouldn't be shocked if he hits like 1,500.
Yeah, me neither. That's kind of a conservative number. And plus, he had 5.3 yards per carry, which is very,
I would not be
good.
surprised if he hits like 1,600.
That's why. So I wouldn't be surprised either. So there's good optimism that he could even challenge to lead the league in rushing yards. 5.3 yards per carry, that is a very elite number. Like I said earlier, with Chubb at 5.4 for his career, if you're hitting 5+, that's an elite territory.
Yeah, you're just a class of your own. And another crazy yards per carry that I have for number 9 is Aaron Jones. Very, very underrated back just because the Green Bay Packers do not run the football. Last season, he had 1,121 yards with 2 touchdowns, which is pretty low. But like I said, come the red zone, they do not run the football. I don't know what it is. Plus, they use A.J. Dillon in some sets. Either way, he posted 400 yards in the air with 5 touchdowns, which was pretty good. But here's the big thing. Aaron Jones did not run the football much. He averaged 5.5 yards per carry. Also averaging 0.2 missed tackles per play. Those are elite numbers. Not many running backs hit that territory. And Aaron Jones, if given the time of day, I think can be one of the best running backs in the NFL. It's just for whatever reason he plays on the Green Bay Packers and they don't run the football. Maybe with Jordan Love, they need to find an identity and he can be their identity next year. But that's what we thought with Aaron Rodgers last year. I don't know. We'll see what happens with Aaron Jones, but I still think he's one of the better running backs in the league.
Yeah, I agree with you. You look at his numbers, they're not like too impressive, but that 5.5 yards per carry is really something you don't expect when you look at him. Now for me, at number 10, I got Breece Hall. I think this is a bit high, though, because he's only played 7 games in his career. But in those 7 games, he looked very, very good and looked very promising for the Jets. The game that really comes to mind is that Green Bay game when he had 97 rushing yards and 100 receiving yards. If he can have that, he obviously won't do that consistently, 100. But if he can consistently be a threat on both, he'll be one of the best running backs in the league. And there was a reason he was the first running back taken off the board. I really like Breece Hall, and he's one of the best young running backs and should be near that top 5 every year for the rest of his career. Just hopefully now coming off that injury, doesn't affect him too much like it did with Saquon. We saw Saquon when he came off a similar injury. Year 1 didn't look too good.
No, I think Brees is going to be fine.
I think by week 5 he should be back to his full workload and hopefully playing like he did in those first 7 games last year.
Plus, you got Aaron Rodgers giving the ball, so maybe that's a motivation. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, the thing with Brees Hall for me is just because he only played 7 games. I have him ranked a little lower, but I definitely see why you have him ranked at 10, and I believe in that potential.
It is a bit of a projection for this one.
Yeah, no, that's totally fine. At number 10, I might have a shocker here. I have Ramondre Stevenson.
Not a shocker at all. He's my next guy.
For the New England Patriots. Here's the thing with Ramondre. It's only his second season, and he continues to develop into the workhorse running back, one of the elite running backs in this league. Last season, he averaged 1,040 yards on the ground, 5 touchdowns, and 421 in the air. That's an underrated stat. Also averaging 4.7 yards per carry and 3.4 yards after contact. This is a big running back. Derrick Henry-esque, just not as dominant. Maybe he develops into a Derrick Henry-esque running back. We shall see, but I think the Patriots have a very dual threat running back here. Very good rusher, very good catcher. Can do pretty much everything on that field. And looking at this past team where they don't have much up front, he will be another focal point of this offense, and he will continue to get the work and do what he does, especially now that they don't even have a second running back.
Yeah, no, Damian Harris is out of the picture now.
That's what I'm saying. So, I mean, it's green light for Ramondre, and I can't wait to see what he does this year.
Yeah, for me, I have him at 11 now. Like what you said, he's built like a Derrick Henry, plus he's a lot more efficient in the air. Derrick Henry, we've seen in his career, not really a factor in the passing game. Ramondre is big on that. I like his size, 6 foot, 227 pounds. And like I said with Pollard, I think him and Pollard can really be 2 guys that break out this year. I really like them. And now without Damian Harris, he can really show his 3-down skill set that he has.
Yeah, no, I agree. And at number 11, I got Kenneth Walker III. Here's the thing with Walker. I love this guy. I think what he did last season was amazing. He got 1,050 yards in his rookie season with 9 touchdowns. That's elite. Averaging 4.6 yards per carry. But he did all of this in the second half of the season. Because in the first half, they still didn't know who that number 1 was. They were giving Penny the ball. They were rotating between him, Penny, and I can't remember the third. But anyway.
DJ Dallas.
It was DJ Dallas. Yes, I remember seeing that name. And, yeah, Kenneth Walker maybe week 6-7 broke out, got that crazy game. And then after that, just clear-cut number 1. However, they did the same thing again this year. They drafted a running back. So, I mean, we'll see if he continues to get the work. But I do believe if Walker does get a full season as a workhorse, he can dominate and can crush these numbers that he put up last season, which is still not a joke in a rookie season.
Yeah, I like Kenneth Walker. I have him a bit lower. It's just I wanted to put him higher, and I don't know why I didn't put him higher. Seeing the names ahead of him, I just had a hard time putting him there.
That's okay.
He's very good pure rusher, just not as much in the passing game. Now for me anyway, at 12, I got a guy you were talking about earlier, Aaron Jones.
Yeah.
His numbers, like we said earlier, were not too impressive, but the 5.5 yards per carry are very something you don't expect. The issue with him is he doesn't get much of the ball because he has to share the carries with A.J. Dillon.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, now this year without Aaron Rodgers using him as a check down option, his receiving game might not be as much. We'll see how he can do in a much worse offense. He'll probably get more carries now because they're going to have to rely on the run with Dillon and Jones. See how they do. For me, he is on number 12.
At number 12, I got Travis Etienne. So, I mean, Etienne last season was supposed to dominate, obviously, but he went down with injury. This is his first actual full season. And wow, did he look good. 1,125 yards, 5 touchdowns, and 316 in the air. He also had 45 missed tackles, which is amazing. Those are great numbers. You don't see that too often, especially for a guy at his size. He is a very big elusive back, can cut defenders, can make them miss, can make them whiff. And, yeah, maybe he was working with a limit last season. I don't know what it was. But every time Etienne dominated in a game, they just did not utilize him for the rest of the game. It was weird.
Yeah, it feels like they just don't trust him to...
They don't trust him. Maybe it was because of the injury. Didn't want to overdo it. But this season, we'll see. Hopefully he doesn't have a limit on him. And hopefully he can absolutely go out there and dominate, be the workhorse that he should be. And, yeah, we'll see what Etienne can do with this season.
Yeah, because we're both really big fans of Etienne. And last year we were expecting him to really be able to break out. But James Robinson at the beginning of the year was getting all the carries. Well, good for James Robinson. He was playing good. Like, he deserved what he was getting. But it was just like we really want to see ETN. Now James Robinson got cut by the Pats, a free agent. It's crazy how much stuff changes in the running back landscape.
Especially in one season. It's like this guy was the starter for the Jags, then he got traded, gets cut. Like, what the?
Like, even when he went to the Jets, he did not get no carries. Zonovan Knight was getting carries over him.
Which is weird.
But ETN couldn't get... It's weird how much situation really matters, especially for running backs.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I don't know. We'll see this season with ETN. Hopefully he can absolutely dominate. I want to see him as a workhorse back. Give me 1 year of ETN.
I don't think it's going to happen, though, because they even said now they drafted Tank Bigsby in the 3rd, and I think Bigsby's going to have like a decent role there. So I don't think we'll ever, at least as long as he's in Jacksonville, I don't think we'll ever see him being just a 3-down workhorse back. I think there's always going to be another guy that's going to be there. Anyway, for me now, at number 13, pretty low. After you said those numbers, wasn't really aware of those numbers. Austin Eckler. Like we said earlier, 915 rushing yards and 700 through the air. No, how much was it through the air?
700 something through the air.
700 through the air. He is, right now, the workhorse in LA. He's going to stay there. He'll, fantasy-wise, at least, he'll always be challenging for number 1. I just don't think as a pure running back, he is in a top 10. So I got him at 13. And, who you got?
At 13, I got a guy you put pretty high up, Breece Hall. I mean, there's just one thing for me. That 5.8 yards per carry in 7 games is insane. Like, if this guy can keep this up in a full season, elite. And he also averaged 4 yards after contact. Those are just numbers you don't see. And, I mean, obviously, he only played 7 games. He didn't have a full season. So we'll see what he can do this season. Hopefully he's healthy. Hopefully he comes back and he's ready to absolutely dominate. I love Breece Hall. I want to see what he can do in the Jets.
Yeah, that 5.8 yards per carry makes my pick feel a little bit better. Even the 4 yards after contact, that's...
4 yards after contact is one of the better numbers in the NFL.
He's looking good. At number 14, I got, like we talked about earlier, Travis Etienne. I feel like I still put him pretty... Kenneth Walker is my next guy. I think Kenneth Walker could have been ahead of him. I like Travis Etienne. I think in another team where they do trust him and do give him more of a workload, I think he can be more productive. And yeah, I got him at 14. Hopefully this year Jacksonville can give him more, but I'm not expecting it.
No, I hear you. Number 14, I got a guy you got really, really high in Dalvin Cook.
I find 14 is this
14,
especially that you're a Vikings fan, to have him at 14 is crazy.
Just the sole reason that he's not on a football team. I love Dalvin Cook. I mean, let's just look at what he did last season. Wasn't the workhorse back that he was used to. Didn't get the treatment he used to get, but still managed to put up 1,173 yards, 8 touchdowns, and 295 in the air. Dalvin Cook has a very underrated catching upside. Just look at what he did against the Colts in that 33-point comeback. Crazy stuff. He got that screen pass for like 50 yards, busted a run. That's what Dalvin Cook can do. He still has that burst.
He's still a game changer.
He can definitely flip the field no matter what. Averaged 4.5 yards a carry, which is good. 3.2 yards after contact. Very, very good. I want to see Dalvin hit a team where he's the number 1 running back. I hope he doesn't split. I don't want to see him splitting. I think he's still elite and commands that respect in the backfield to be the number 1.
Yeah, I think even for his pass catching, I think it's very underrated. People think of him as just like a pure rushing running back, but he does have...
The screen game, man. The screen games will work. That was the one thing with Zimmer and Dalvin, and I don't know what it was, but he used to love hitting him with the screens, and Dalvin Cook's great at screens.
The one thing that Mike Zimmer did. Now, for me, at number 15, like I said earlier, I have Kenneth Walker. He could definitely be a lot higher. He is one of the... Out of these young... We see now the new trend with these running backs is for them to be good in the pass-catching game. But Kenneth Walker's old school. Yeah. He's a very good runner. And I got him at 15. Just now with Zach Charbonnet getting picked in the 2nd round. Hopefully it doesn't eat into his touches, which also was put into my ranking of him being this low because there's a bit of projection there, quite obviously.
Yeah.
And hopefully Pete Carroll can still give him the work that he's been getting last year.
No, for sure. And at number 15, I have Mr. Alvin Kamara. Here's the thing with Kamara. He used to be one of my favorite running backs in the NFL, but I mean, just looking at his regression without Drew Brees has been pretty sad. Obviously, he's not as consistent in the passing game as when Drew Brees was there. I don't know if it's because Drew Brees was getting older and he was just checking it down often or whatever it was. But still, I do believe Alvin Kamara can make a play. He's still great. He averages 8.6 yards a catch, 4.0 yards a carry. So he still has decent numbers, just doesn't get the time of day anymore. I don't know, for whatever reason. We'll see. Maybe this season is different, but yeah, number 15, Alvin Kamara.
And it's concerning with Kamara. They brought in Kendra Miller, who they drafted this year. Mm-hmm. Jamal Williams also brought in. So we'll see what happens with the legal case. That's probably what it is. It's probably just so they're safe and they have options there. And yeah, well, for me, I got Kamara lower anyway. At 16, I got Javonte Williams, a guy who was very hard to rank because if he wasn't coming off this injury, I'd say he'd be in that 10 to 11 range with Breece Hall and Ramondre Stevenson. He has a workhorse type of skill set. It was fine. He was poised to finally get it this year, but unfortunately he got injured, which hopefully he can come back this year and be good. It's just, it was a very serious injury, so who knows. And yeah, they do have P right now, so I think that opportunity to really be the only guy in the backfield is gone.
Yeah.
And plus with that injury, you can't really expect a guy to have a workhorse.
He looked good, man. The first 4 weeks when he was dominating, he looked really, really good. It's just, the injuries are killers in this game, and comes with the sport. That's why we love it so much. It's physical, but I mean, players don't like it as much. Hope they get better. Hope Javonte can come back. And yeah, number 16, I got Joe Mixon. I was not impressed with Joe Mixon last year. I mean, I knew he didn't do too great, but 814 rushing yards, 3.9 yards a carry, that's just not good. You need to be better than that. We'll see if he can bounce back. He got the ball. It's not like he didn't get his rushing attempts. Only averaging 3.9 yards a carry is not great. However, he did have a career high in receiving yards with 414. We'll see if he can continue that upside, but the rushing numbers just need to be better. Maybe he's regressing. Who knows what it is, but yeah, I do not like Joe Mixon, and I have him at 16 this year.
Yeah, for me now at 17, a guy who I think could be higher, J.K. Dobbins, but it's really just the injuries that are a big problem with him. He just can't stay healthy. We see he comes back from injury and he has a big game. He'll have a 2-touchdown game. He had 5.7 yards per carry last year, which is very, very good and shows who is really a good running back. And if it wasn't for the injuries, he would be higher. It's just he cannot stay healthy at all.
Yeah, I don't even have J.K. Dobbins ranked. I honestly completely forgot about J.K. That's on me. At number 17, though, I have Dameon Pierce. This guy was the only light in that offense. He was the only guy producing anything for the Houston Texans last year. He was a one-man wrecking crew. He forced 49 missed tackles. On this Houston team, that's elite. I don't care what anyone says. He hit the top 10 in number of first downs and yards after contact. He got 939 yards with 4 touchdowns, 4.3 yards a carry. Don't listen to the numbers. This guy is elite. I'm telling you, give him a decent offense, something with maybe more receiving upside in the receiving room. He could definitely hit over 1,000 yards consistently. He has that wrecking ball frame, goes through people, and I hope Dameon Pierce continues to dominate, and I hope this offense gets a little bit better with C.J. Stroud.
Yeah, before with Davis Mills, they weren't really at all a threat to throw the ball. Now with C.J. Stroud, you expect him to be a threat, and they can't just key in on Dameon Pierce like they were last year. So I expect his numbers to get a lot better. Plus, his offensive line is improved now with Shaq Mason being added to the equation. Plus, they got Laramie Tunzel. It is a pretty solid offensive line.
It's a decent O-line. It's just, if everyone knows you're running, they're just going to send blitzes all game.
There's not much Dameon Pierce can do, especially... What round was he drafted? 5th, 6th?
At the late. I don't remember. I don't know the exact round. I can search that up.
But for a rookie running back to come in after being drafted in the 5th, 6th round and play as good as he did in such a bad team, it's very impressive. For me now, anyway, at number 18, I got another guy you were talking about earlier, Joe Mixon. He's coming off a really disappointing season. In my opinion, Samaje Perine outplayed him last year. And he does have a legal situation over his head right now, which we'll see what happens with that. But Cincinnati hasn't brought in another running back, so I'd imagine that he will be able to play and it won't really be affecting him this season.
Well, they kind of no choice. They need him to play.
Yeah, exactly. The other option is really Chase Brown, who they brought in the draft. And I don't know. I think Joe Mixon is on the back end of his career now. He's on a regression, so to me he's at 18.
Yeah, no, I can't hate that pick. At 18, I got a guy like Najee Harris. I love this man's potential. It's just he has not showcased it. His first 2 seasons have been
terrible.
Okay. I mean, last season he got 1,034 yards with 7 touchdowns. So that's not bad. He's averaged over 1,000 yards in both his seasons, but he's getting 3.8 yards a carry. That's not good.
No.
It might be an O-line thing. It might be him not being able to have the vision of the running back and see the field. We'll see. Maybe this season with an improved O-line, he can get better. We'll see what Najee can do. That's why I have him ranked at number 18.
For me, Najee Harris isn't in my top 20.
Yeah, I don't hate it.
For a guy that got drafted in the first round as a running back, you have to hit the ground running.
Yeah, I don't hate that.
He hasn't been able to do that. Obviously, Pittsburgh hasn't given him the best situation to really produce in with that offensive line. It's terrible. And just when he's such a frustrating player to watch, I find Najee Harris, because not even his fault, but like, man, they give him the ball and the guys just get stuffed, man.
It's like freaking funny because he's running into a wall and he's either going through it or he's getting stuffed.
It's like, it's sad to see. I feel bad for the guy. Hopefully, now that their offensive line, they draft Broderick Jones in the draft. Hopefully, it could get better for him, but I don't know, man. It's just, he must be scarred for life playing in front of the offensive line, man. It's tough for him. Anyway, for me at number 19, I got Alvin Kamara. He was one of my favorite running backs back in the day, like it was such a long time ago. He was one of my favorite running backs, but last year was very disappointing. He was one of those guys who always had a good pass catching upside with Drew Brees, but now that it was Andy Dalton last year, did not help him at all. He was disappointing. We'll see what happens with him if he does get suspended for his Pro Bowl incident in the assault case. We'll see. Jamal Williams comes in there, the 1-yard touchdown machine. And yeah, I got him at 19.
Hey, Mr. 20 touchdowns, who knows?
Who do you got at 19?
At 19, I got huge upside here. I got Khalil Herbert. Last season, 731 yards, 4 touchdowns. He was doing this as a number 2. And he was averaging 5.7 yards per carry.
Very nice.
Those are elite numbers. I think that's the best in the NFL. 3.7 after contact is also very good. He's elusive, can make people miss. I cannot wait to see Khalil Herbert get the work as a number 1. Obviously, they have DeAndre Swift next to him this year. But I don't think Swift will command that number 1. I think they were sort of molding Herbert to take that.
Swift is in Philly.
Oh, my God. My bad. Sorry, wrong back.
I think
Montgomery went to Detroit. Yeah, no, that was my mistake, guys. Sorry about that. But yeah, no, first full season as the 1. I cannot wait to see what he does. And yeah, I'm excited, man. 5.7 yards per carry is crazy. I just want to see this guy full season. I have him as my number 1 breakout candidate this year. Honestly, I think he's going to smash and get into the top 10 next, even top 5 next year.
Yeah, I think there's a reason Chicago got rid of Montgomery, because they really believe in Herbert. They didn't bring anybody else in besides Roshan Johnson again in the draft. I think this will be his breakout year as well. I don't have him in my top 20 because I just felt like it's a lot of projection. It's not, well, he has done the 5.7 yards a carry, obviously. But for me, I think top 20 was a bit too rich when you look at the names that are ahead of him.
Bijan.
Yeah, why, you think Khalil Herbert's going to have a better year than Bijan next year?
Rushing-wise, I think so.
I don't think so. I think you're underrating Bijan's rushing abilities.
We'll see. Anyway,
I still respect it, though. Like, in my list, he'd probably be in the early 20s. So having him at 19,
up, yeah.
It's pretty high, but it's not crazy.
It's not a reach.
Exactly. At number 20, I got someone you mentioned earlier, Dameon Pierce. It's unfortunate that he got put in such a tough situation in Houston, an absolutely useless offense. Besides him, he was the only shining point in that offense. He hopefully now, like I said earlier, with Stroud being under center and it not being them, the defense not going to be only focusing on Dameon Pierce. Hopefully he could put up better numbers, and yeah, he is a wrecking ball type of player. I like him. He's very nice.
You're a very good back. Like you said, man, I want to see Dameon Pierce in a decent offense. Exactly. I think he can dominate. But yeah, number 20, I got a guy you mentioned earlier, Javonte Williams. I absolutely loved this back before his injury. Still averaged 4.3 yards per carry in his first 2 seasons. Was about to get that workhorse type role last year, but unfortunately went down with injury. That's the game. And yeah, now I don't know if he'll even be the number 1. But yeah, hopefully they do split, and hopefully Javonte comes back healthy and can showcase what he's able to do.
Yeah, like for me, Javonte, when he got drafted, I had really high hopes for him. I thought he would be able to get like good amount of playing time instead of Melvin Gordon at that time.
But
because I remember in fantasy, I was drafting him a decent amount, and I was disappointed that he didn't really
They were splitting Melvin Gordon the whole year, I think.
Yeah.
And then he gets cut at the end. It was freaking hilarious.
It was a 50-50 split between Javonte and Melvin.
And he gets cut in the offseason.
So there you go. Those are our top 20 lists. What do you guys think about it? Let us know in the comments.
Drop down your top 20 in the comments. I will react to that one.
We should have some TikToks coming out soon. Also, we made an Instagram recently. We haven't really mentioned it on the pod yet.
It's true.
So if you guys go follow our Instagram, our Twitter, our TikTok, all the links are going to be at the end of the video as you saw with our new outro.
If you can't click on the outro stuff, just go to this description box and they'll all be there.
So I hope you guys enjoyed the episode, and we'll see you guys next time with, what are we going to do next? We're going to do linebackers, tight ends?
Nah, I don't know. We'll figure it out. We got some stuff planned. We might do some fantasy stuff. We'll figure it out, guys. Don't worry about it.
See you guys next time. Hope you enjoyed.
Bye.
Bye.